The grand chamber of the Galactic Council sparkled under the light of 3 artificial suns. 200 alien representatives sat in rising circles, their voices mixing into a worried murmur. At the center of the chamber, a hologram of Earth spun slowly, showing the rapid growth of human cities across its surface. The council speaker, tall and gray-skinned, raised his 4-fingered hand. The chamber fell silent. We gather today for an emergency session. The subject, Earth and its dangerous inhabitants. Data streams appeared around Earth's hologram, showing graphs of technological advancement. The lines curved sharply upward, breaking all previous records of species development. In mere centuries, the speaker continued, they have gone from horse-drawn carriages to quantum computers. From simple boats to fusion-powered ships, their rate of advancement is. He paused, his silver eyes scanning the room. Unprecedented. A representative from the Trade Federation stood up. They're still primitive. They haven't even mastered faster-than-light travel. That's exactly what concerns us, replied the speaker. Our projections show they will discover FTL within 5 years. Their military technology is advancing even faster. They've already detected our observation posts near their moon. Images flashed in the air. Human weapons, warships, defense systems. The council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. But the most alarming discovery, the speaker's voice grew darker, is their nature. Humans are the only known species that continued to wage war even after unifying their planet. They fight for sport. They create thousands of simulations of conflict. Their entertainment is filled with violence. Their history is soaked in blood. The Trade Federation representative sat down, his protests silenced. On Mars Base 1, the largest human colony outside Earth, Commander Peter Wilson stared at his coffee cup. The dark liquid rippled as another tremor shook the base. Status report, he ordered. Lieutenant Davis looked up from her console, her face pale. Sir, we're detecting massive energy readings from the edge of the solar system. Something big is coming through. Wilson walked to the main window. The dome of Mars Base 1 stretched before him, housing 10,000 colonists. Beyond it, the red Martian desert stretched endlessly. Earth hung in the sky like a blue jewel. Back in the council chamber, the vote was complete. The speaker's voice echoed through the hall. The motion passes. For the safety of all civilized species, Earth will be removed. A young council member jumped up. You can't. There are 8 billion sentient beings. Who will become a threat to 8 trillion if left unchecked? The speaker cut him off. The device has been prepared. The elimination will be painless. Earth will simply cease to exist in our dimension. Wilson watched in horror as a massive ring-shaped device appeared at the edge of the solar system. It was bigger than any human ship, its surface covered in symbols no human had ever seen. Get me Earth Command, he shouted. Communications are being jammed, Davis reported, her fingers flying over the controls. The device began to glow. A beam of purple light shot from its center, striking Earth. The blue planet shimmered like a mirage in the desert. No, Wilson whispered. Earth flickered once, twice, and vanished. Where humanity's homeworld had been, there was nothing but empty space. The silence in Mars Base 1 was absolute. 10,000 colonists stood frozen, staring at the empty spot in space where their home had been. Parents who would never see their children again. Children who would never return home. Wilson's coffee cup slipped from his fingers, shattering on the floor. The sound echoed through the control room like a gunshot. In the council chamber, the speaker was already moving to the next item on the agenda. The deed was done. Earth was gone. Humanity was no longer a threat. But he had made 2 mistakes. First, he had left witnesses. And second, he had underestimated humanity's capacity for survival and revenge. 3 months after Earth's disappearance, Mars Base 1 was barely holding together. The hydroponic gardens weren't producing enough food. The water recyclers were working at maximum capacity. And hope was running out. Commander Wilson stood in the emergency command center, now moved underground to save power. The screens around him showed the status of their supplies. All bars were in the red. "How long?" he asked. Dr. Baker, the head of supplies, didn't look up from her tablet. 6 months. Maybe 7 if we cut rations again. Wilson rubbed his tired eyes. They had already lost 50 people to depression-related incidents. The weight of leading Earth's only survivors was crushing him. A loud alarm suddenly broke the silence. Wilson rushed to the main console where Lieutenant Davis was already working. "Sir." Her eyes were wide. "The deep space sensors. They're picking up something from where Earth used to be." The main screen lit up with data. Strange energy readings pulsed from the empty space where their home planet had been. Dr. Thomas, their lead physicist, burst into the room. His gray hair was messy, and his eyes were wild with excitement. "Commander, you need to see this." He plugged a data drive into the main computer. New readings appeared on the screen. "Earth wasn't destroyed," he said, his hand shaking. "It was shifted, moved to another dimension, and I can prove it." Wilson leaned forward. "Explain." "Simply. These energy patterns." Thomas pointed to the screen. "They're like echoes. Imagine throwing a stone into a pond. The stone vanishes under the water, but it leaves ripples. Earth is the stone, and we're seeing the dimensional ripples." Hope sparked in Wilson's chest for the first time in months. "Can we get it back?" "Not yet," Thomas admitted. "But this proves it's possible. Earth still exists. We just need to find it." The next day, Wilson called a base-wide meeting in the main hall. 10,000 faces looked up at him, thin from rationing but still determined. "Yesterday," he began, his voice carrying through the speakers, "we discovered that Earth wasn't destroyed. It was hidden from us. And what can be hidden," he paused, looking at their faces, "can be found." A murmur ran through the crowd. "But we need to survive first. I won't lie to you. Our situation is bad. We don't have enough supplies. Our equipment is failing. But we have something more important. We have a purpose." He pressed a button, and the screens behind him lit up with their new mission objectives. "Starting today, we reorganize. Everyone gets new duties. We'll turn unused sections into farmland. Convert old storage into living spaces. Build new water recyclers. And most importantly," he pointed to the new construction plans on the screen, "we'll build research labs, because we're not just going to survive. We're going to find Earth." The crowd erupted in cheers. 2 weeks later, during a routine expansion of the underground facilities, they found it. A sealed door covered in alien symbols, hidden deep in the Martian rocks. Wilson touched the strange metal. It was warm. "How old is this?" "Carbon dating says at least 1 million years," Dr. Baker said, scanning the door. "And there's a power source behind it, still active." It took them 3 days to crack the alien security systems. When the door finally opened, they found a vast chamber filled with technology they couldn't even begin to understand. Wilson walked through the rows of alien machines, his flashlight beam reflecting off their metallic surfaces. On the far wall, a massive screen flickered to life, displaying a star map with thousands of dimensional coordinates. "Commander," Thomas whispered, his voice full of awe. "This is it. This is how we find Earth." Wilson nodded, a grim smile on his face. "And how we make them pay." 50 years had passed since Earth vanished. Mars Base 1 no longer existed, at least not above ground. In its place, vast underground cities stretched for miles beneath the red planet's surface. In the central command room of New Atlas, the largest underground city, Commander Anna Wilson stood before a holographic display. She was the granddaughter of Commander Peter Wilson, and she carried both his determination and his grudge. "Status report on the stealth shield," she ordered. The tech officer, Jack Reed, nodded at his console. "Working perfectly, Commander. The Galactic Council's patrol ships passed right over us again. They still think Mars is abandoned." Anna smiled. The Council's arrogance was their greatest weakness. They never imagined that humans could not only survive but thrive underground. Deep in the engineering sector, Dr. Thomas's son, Michael Thomas, worked with a team of scientists around a strange machine. It was a combination of the alien technology they'd found and human innovation. The device pulsed with a soft blue light, sending waves of energy through the dimensional barriers. "We found something," Michael said into his comm unit. "Commander Wilson needs to see this." Minutes later, Anna stood in the lab, watching as Michael pointed to a series of energy signatures on his screen. "We've been tracking dimensional disturbances for decades," he explained. "But look at this pattern." He highlighted a particular signal. "It matches Earth's dimensional signature exactly." "We found it." Anna's heart raced. "You're sure?" "Absolutely. Earth is in dimension layer 7, exactly 2.3 degrees offset from our current dimensional plane." Michael pulled up a complex diagram. The Council didn't just move Earth randomly. They put it somewhere specific. "Can we get to it?" Michael hesitated. "Yes, but..." He pressed a few buttons, showing a simulation. "We'd need enormous power, more than our entire colony currently produces in a year." Anna walked to the window overlooking the underground city. Millions of lights twinkled in the artificial cavern. Trains moved silently on magnetic tracks between different sectors. Hydroponic gardens glowed green under artificial suns. Everything humanity had built here was powered by fusion reactors, their greatest achievement since losing Earth. But it wasn't enough. "What about the ancient power core we found in Sector 7? She asked. Michael's eyes widened. "The alien reactor. It's unstable. We barely understand how it works." "Then it's time we learned." Anna turned back to him. "Gather your best team. I want that reactor studied and understood." Over the next few months, the colony hummed with renewed purpose. In secret workshops, engineers built new ships using their advanced stealth technology. In hidden labs, scientists worked to understand the alien power core. And in secure training facilities, soldiers prepared for war. One day, during a routine scan of Council communications, they intercepted something interesting. "Commander," Jack called from his station. "You need to see this." The message was simple. The Council was concerned. Several of their outer bases had gone dark. Ships had disappeared. Someone was operating in their space, completely invisible to their sensors. Anna smiled. The other human colonies, the ones they'd secretly rescued over the years, were already at work. Small strikes, quick raids, just enough to make the Council nervous. In her private office, Anna looked at an old photo of her grandfather. He hadn't lived to see this day, but he'd laid the groundwork. The hidden bunkers, the stealth technology, the rescue of other human colonies, and most importantly, the burning desire to make things right. "Signal all sectors," she ordered through the comm. "Begin Operation Homecoming. It's time to show the Council that humanity isn't just surviving." She touched the Earth pendant at her neck, a family heirloom containing soil from humanity's lost home. "We're coming back." The Council archives towered over the capital city like a mountain of crystal and metal. Inside its halls, Agent Tom Cooper adjusted his holographic disguise. To anyone watching, he appeared as a regular Council maintenance worker, his human features hidden behind the image of a blue-skinned alien. "Security patrol coming your way," whispered Lisa in his earpiece. She was monitoring the security feeds from their cloaked ship in orbit. 3 guards, standard rotation. Tom kept walking, head down like any other worker. The guards passed without a second glance. 50 years of studying Council species had paid off. They had perfected the art of blending in. In the Archive's main control room, Dr. William Grant worked at a console, his disguise marking him as a senior archivist. His real mission was far more important. While appearing to do routine file maintenance, he was actually planting a virus designed to find information about the dimension-shifting weapon. "How much longer?" Tom asked through their secure channel. 5 minutes, William replied. This system is old. Really old. The council never updates anything they think is secure. An alarm suddenly blared through the halls. Tom's heart jumped. Stay calm, Lisa said from orbit. It's not for you. There's some kind of commotion at the council chamber. Tom walked to a nearby window. In the distance, he could see ships landing at the council chamber. Emergency lights flashed. The Trade Federation representatives are demanding an emergency session, Lisa reported, monitoring council communications. They've lost contact with 3 more outposts. William's voice came through the comm. Download complete. You won't believe what I found. Tell me on the way out, Tom said, already moving toward their meeting point. In a maintenance tunnel deep under the archives, Tom and William met. Their holographic disguises flickered off, revealing their human faces. The weapon, William said, holding up a data crystal, wasn't council technology. They stole it. Tom's eyes widened. From who? An ancient race called the Builders. The same ones who built that base we found on Mars. William's eyes were bright with excitement. The council found their abandoned outpost, reverse-engineered some of their tech, but they never fully understood it, which means they don't know how to stop it either, Tom realized. Their walk back to the extraction point was interrupted by another alarm. This time, it was closer. We have a problem. Lisa's voice was tense. They're sealing the archives, some kind of security protocol. Tom looked at William. Plan B. William nodded, pulling out a small device. Plan B. They attached the device to a wall. It was something new, developed in the Mars labs. A short-range dimensional shifter. They'd only get one shot at using it. Security forces approaching both ends of your corridor, Lisa warned. Tom pressed the button. The device hummed, creating a small portal in the wall, just big enough to step through. On the other side was an empty storage room they'd scouted earlier. They jumped through just as guards rounded both corners. The portal closed behind them, leaving no trace. Minutes later, their small maintenance ship lifted off, its stealth systems making it invisible to council sensors. As they broke orbit, Tom looked at the data crystal. The council chambers are in chaos, Lisa reported, monitoring transmissions. The Trade Federation is threatening to withdraw from the council. 3 more outposts just went dark. Good, Tom said. Phase 1 is complete. Time for Phase 2. Their ship disappeared into hyperspace, carrying the crucial data back to Mars. Behind them, the council's capital was in turmoil. Their perfect order was cracking, and they didn't even know why. Deep in the council archives, a small virus began its work, quietly copying itself through their networks. In less than a week, every council secret would belong to humanity. The real war was about to begin. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, the massive underground shipyard of New Atlas hummed with activity. The stolen council data had changed everything. Now, humanity knew exactly what they needed to build. Commander Anna Wilson stood on a viewing platform, watching as workers assembled their newest warship. Unlike the sleek, showy vessels of the council, human ships were dark and angular, designed to be nearly invisible to all known forms of detection. Beautiful, isn't she? Chief Engineer Mark Potter stood beside her, looking at the ship with pride. We're calling her the Ghost of Earth. The ship's hull was covered in panels that absorbed light and energy, making it virtually invisible. Its weapons were hidden behind retractable plates, but its most important feature lay in its core. How's the dimension drive coming along? Anna asked. See for yourself, Mark grinned, leading her to a nearby elevator. They descended to the testing chamber where Michael Thomas was working with his team around a massive ring-shaped device. It looked similar to the weapon that had taken Earth, but with crucial differences. We've cracked it, Michael said as they approached. The builders didn't just make weapons, they were explorers. The council only understood a fraction of what this technology could do. He pressed a button, and the ring hummed to life. A small portal opened in its center, showing a view of what looked like another Mars. but with different stars in the sky. We can now open stable portals between dimensions, Michael explained. Small ones for now, but once we install this in the Ghost of Earth. Anna nodded. We can bring our people home. An alarm sounded, but not one of danger. It was the signal for a general announcement. Anna walked to the nearest communication panel and pressed a button. Her voice echoed through every level of the underground city. Today marks 50 years and 3 months since Earth was taken from us, she began. But today is different. Today, we have hope. Throughout the city, people stopped to listen. In workshops, in laboratories, in training rooms, the council thought they ended us. They thought we would die quietly in the dark. Instead, we have grown stronger. We have built weapons they cannot see, ships they cannot track. And now, she paused, looking at the dimensional portal still spinning in the test chamber. Now we have the key to bringing Earth home. But first, we will show them why they were right to fear us. In another part of the city, Tom Cooper and his infiltration team were training new recruits. The data they'd stolen had revealed dozens of council worlds that might support their cause. Worlds that had been bullied, threatened, or controlled by the council's corrupt leaders. Remember, Tom told his students, we're not just fighting for Earth now. We're fighting for everyone the council has wronged. In the medical bay, Dr. Lisa Cooper, formerly their mission coordinator, now head of medical research, was putting the finishing touches on their newest weapon, a virus, but not the computer kind. This one was designed to affect the council leadership species specifically, not to kill, but to reveal their lies. The compound is ready, she told Anna through the comm. Once released, it will make it impossible for them to hide their true thoughts. Every lie they tell will be visible in their skin color. Anna smiled grimly. Perfect. Their own people need to see what they really are. The next day, the Ghost of Earth rose from its construction bay for its first test flight. Its dark hull swallowed light, making it look like a ship-shaped hole in reality. As it powered up its engines, Anna stood on the bridge, looking at her crew. They were ready. The ships were ready. The weapons were ready. Send the signal to all human colonies, she ordered. Operation Homecoming begins in 3 days. The countdown to war had begun. The Council's main defense station hung in space like a giant metal star. Its sensors swept the surrounding space constantly, watching for any threat. But they weren't watching for what couldn't be seen. All ships in position, Tom Cooper reported from his stealth vessel. 20 human ships surrounded the station, all of them invisible to Council technology. Commander Anna Wilson stood on the bridge of the Ghost of Earth, watching the station through their advanced cameras. Begin Operation Daybreak, she ordered. Across Council space, human ships appeared out of nowhere. They struck 30 different targets simultaneously. But they weren't firing weapons, they were broadcasting truth. On the Council station's main screen, classified documents began to appear. Videos of secret meetings, proof of corruption, evidence that the Council leaders had been lying to their own people for centuries. They're trying to shut down the broadcast, Lisa reported from her station, releasing the truth serum now. Tiny drones, invisible to Council sensors, had already infiltrated the station's air system. The chemical they released was harmless but effective. Within minutes, the Council leaders' skin began to change color with every lie they told. On thousands of worlds, people watched as their leaders turned bright purple while trying to deny the evidence. The effect spread through Council space like a wave. Multiple Council worlds are declaring themselves neutral, reported Jack Reed from Communications. The Trade Federation has officially withdrawn from the Council. Their ships are standing down. But not everyone was giving up. Hardline Council forces launched their warships, determined to maintain control. Hostile ships approaching, Tom warned. 5 heavy cruisers, dozen smaller vessels. Anna smiled grimly. Show them what human ships can do. The Ghost of Earth moved forward, its stealth field dropping. The Council ships opened fire, but their weapons passed through empty space. The human vessels were already somewhere else, using short-range dimensional jumps to appear and disappear around their enemies. Remember, Anna broadcast to all human ships, minimal casualties. We're here to disable, not destroy. We're not them. Human weapons struck with surgical precision. Engine systems failed. Weapons went offline. Communication arrays died. The mighty Council fleet was reduced to floating hulks without a single life lost. In the Council's main chamber, the speaker tried to maintain order. His skin was deep purple from his lies. This is obviously some kind of trick. Some terrorist action fat. The chamber's main doors opened. Tom Cooper walked in with his team, their holographic disguises falling away to reveal their human faces. "No more lies," Tom said simply. "It's over." The speaker reached for a weapon, but Lisa's truth serum had done more than expose lies. It had also made it impossible for those affected to commit violence. His hand wouldn't move. "What? What do you want?" the speaker asked, his purple skin showing his fear. "We want Earth back," Anna said, walking into the chamber. "And we want justice for every world you've wronged." On screens throughout Council space, people watched as their corrupt leaders were arrested by their own security forces. The truth serum made it impossible to hide their guilt, and the evidence was overwhelming. "Multiple Council worlds are requesting alliance with Earth," Jack reported. "Accept all requests," Anna ordered, "and prepare for Phase 2. She looked at Michael Thomas, who nodded. The dimensional drive was ready. The ghost of Earth moved into position where Earth had once been. Soon, they would bring their home back. But first, they had made sure it would return to a better galaxy, one where the Council's corruption had been exposed and defeated. "Send word to Mars," Anna commanded. "Tell them to start the countdown. It's time to bring Earth home." The ghost of Earth floated in the exact spot where their home planet had vanished 50 years ago. Around it, a fleet of human ships formed a protective circle. On every ship, crews worked to power up their dimensional drives. Commander Anna Wilson stood on the bridge, holding her grandfather's Earth pendant. "All ships report ready," Jack announced from his station. "Begin power-up sequence," Anna ordered. In the engine room, Michael Thomas watched as energy readings climbed higher and higher. The dimensional drive hummed, its sound growing louder with each passing second. "All readings are green," he reported. "We're ready." Suddenly, alarms blared. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. Tom shouted from tactical. A fleet of Council warships appeared, the last desperate forces of the old guard, refusing to accept defeat. "They're charging weapons," Lisa warned. Anna's voice remained calm. "Defensive positions. Remember your training. We just need to hold them off long enough to complete the sequence." The space around them erupted in chaos as Council ships opened fire. But they were fighting a different humanity now. Human ships phased in and out of dimensions, impossible to hit, their return fire precise and devastating. "Dimensional drive at 70%, Michael reported. The Council ships pressed their attack, but they weren't alone. From hyperspace came new arrivals, ships from the worlds that humanity had freed from Council control. They joined the defense, protecting the ghost of Earth as it continued its work. "Drive at 90%, Michael called out. "Beginning final sequence." Energy beams from all the human ships connected to the ghost of Earth, feeding power into its dimensional drive. The ship's hull glowed with contained power. Multiple dimensional fractures detected. Lisa shouted over the noise of straining engines. Through the bridge windows, they could see space itself beginning to tear. Reality buckled as the dimensional barriers weakened. "Full power," Anna commanded. "Bring her home." The ghost of Earth's dimensional drive reached maximum power. A massive portal began to open, larger than any they'd created before. Through it, they could see something blue and green. "It's Earth," Tom whispered. "We found her." The planet was exactly as they'd left it, frozen in time by the dimensional shift. But bringing it back wouldn't be easy. Hull stress reaching critical levels, Jack warned. Hold together, Anna muttered, both to the ship and her crew. Just hold together. The ghost of Earth's engines screamed as they pulled their home planet back through dimensions. Warning lights flashed across every console. Metal groaned under impossible stresses. And then, with a flash that blinded every sensor in the solar system, Earth reappeared. There was absolute silence for a moment. Then cheers erupted across every human ship. On the surface of Mars, colonists watched their telescopes and cried as they saw their home return. Message from Earth's surface, Lisa said, her voice shaking. They don't realize any time has passed. To them, it's still the same day we lost them. The remaining Council ships fled or surrendered. The battle was over. Earth was back. Hours later, Anna stood in her quarters, sending a message to all of humanity, both those on Earth and those who had survived in space. 50 years ago, we lost our home. We were scattered, broken, and alone. But we survived. We grew stronger. We learned from our enemies' mistakes. And now we're back, not just as survivors, but as protectors. She looked out her window at the beautiful blue planet that fought so hard to recover. Earth is under our protection now, and we will never let anyone threaten our home again. On Earth, millions of people looked up at their night sky, not yet knowing how close they'd come to being lost forever. But they would learn. And this time, humanity would face the future united, stronger and wiser than ever before. The end of the Council was the beginning of a new age, and humanity would lead the way.